Hello, dear participants. Welcome to all of you. In this session, Professor Dr. Stephen Eliyev with his speech titled Consequences of Climate Change for Economic Development.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. Now, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Stephen Eliyev for precious speeches.
Just a moment, please. I have not the presentation.
Mehmet Hocam. Mehmet. Dear Professor, could you please try again?
Can I begin my research? My research title is Consequences of Climate Changes for Economic Development. The research focus is climate change and its impact on some basic aspects of economic development. The aim is to highlight the effects of new climate phenomena at the global, regional, and sectoral level. Moreover, our aim is to identify both the predominantly negative aspects of the impact of climate change at the indicated levels, as well as some positive process. Climate change requires representative of the scientific community to find a new paradigm to explain what is happening and to outline ways to overcome the negative consequences. For such, we accept the green economy in the cyclic economy. In recent decades, they have penetrated deeply into socioeconomic scientific discussions. The world must accept change as a given and strive to prevent those changes that are a result of human activity. Since the middle of the 20th century, numerous problems of a global nature have arisen. They pose a number of threats to the existence of humanity. According to the United Nations Millennium Ecosystem Assessment Report published in 2005, during the second half of the 20th century, humans changed ecosystems worldwide to an extent unprecedented in time. At the same time, about 60% of the world's ecosystem services have already reduced their efficiency significantly or are used irrationally. For a very long period of time, human needs have been satisfied through production structures created and perfected on the basis of ever-increasing exploitation of natural resources and release of ever-increasing volumes of carbon emissions. The significant growth of the population and on this basis, the increase on anthropogenic load of the natural factors mean that today the depletion of natural resources and the the pollution of the environment are more and more actually felt. All this brings to the forefront of the modern global agenda the question of developing and a new paradigm of the development of the world economy. The first part of my research is from sustainable development to a green economy. In the last few decades, a lot of economic concepts have been formed to achieve economic development and prosperity. What they have in common is the need to maintain a sustainable development trajectory. The term sustainable development was first proposed in 1987 in the report Our Common Future of the United Nations Commission on Environment and Development. In 1992, the concept of sustainable development gained international importance and approval at a conference under the auspices of the United Nations held in Rio de Janeiro. There, a consensus was reached regarding its following definitions: development in which the needs of present generation are met without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. In order to follow the trajectory of sustainable development on a global scale, all countries have to direct their efforts in the direction of transformation from traditional economy of material resources to a new type of green economy. If the traditional economy relies on the extensive use of ever-increasing amount of natural resources, the green economy is of an intensive type and implies increasing use, development, and implementation of environmentally friendly technologies to create material goods. In the end, such an approach introduced and publicized a similar model of economic development, the cyclic economy. It significantly minimizes the waste of natural resource and reduce harmful emissions. The establishment of green economy model brings to the fore the need for fundamentally new organizational and technological requirements, nor only for the purpose of protecting the environment, but also for the functioning of many industries, changing the working conditions in turn. The idea of green economy was formulated more specifically by UNEP in 2008 with the aim of accelerating the recovery of the world economy from the financial crisis by investing in environmentally friendly production. Within the framework of UNEP initiatives, the report Global Green New Deal was developed containing the recommendation of the experts for the guidelines for the development of the green economy continues to be developed by the United Nations and a number of other international organizations, for example, World Bank, OECD countries, G7, G20, European Union. To date, the views on the essence of the green economy are united around the definition: an economy oriented toward increasing the level of well-being of the population, guaranteed social justice, and achieving growth in conditions of continuous reduction of the risk of deterioration and destruction of natural ecosystem on the basis of increasing resources stability, sustainability of the world economy. In its scope, the concept of the green economy includes the three pillars that are at the foundation of the paradigm of sustainable development: economic growth, social development, and environmental protection. Although environmental protection occupies prominent positions in the concept of the green economy, it is not its only characteristic. The creation of conditions for achieving lasting economic growth and sustainable social development is of high importance. Ensuring social justice and equal access to the first of growth for all members of the human community is an important condition for maintaining the stability of the development of the economy as a whole. The conclusion of a number of studies of the problems related to the development of the green economy are united around the understanding that climate change caused by human activity is the main prerequisite for taking measures to accelerate the greening of the world economy. Climate changes that have occurred in recent decades are also one of the main reasons for development of the concept of sustainable development. One of the most commonly used definitions of climate is the long-term summation of atmospheric elements and their variation that, over short periods of time, present the weather. These elements are solar radiation, temperature, humidity, precipitation, atmospheric pressure, and wind. The definition's emphasis is on the long period of astronomical time that distinguishes climate from weather. Earth's climate has changed many times. The likely causes of these varying cycles of solar radiation, volcanic activity on Earth, changes in ocean currents. The last great ice age ended about 11,500 years ago, followed by the first known agriculture settlements in the Mesopotamia and the lands of present-day Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, and Iraq. There is also evidence of climate change over the past 2,500 years, with altering periods of warmer and cooler climates. They are named and dated as follows: Roman warm period from the middle of the 3rd century BC to the beginning of the 5th century AD. Medieval warm period from the middle of the 20th century to the second half of 13th century, and Little Ice Age after the middle of the 16th century, almost until the end of the 19th century. The industrial development of mankind since the end of the 19th century and the associated release of large amounts of greenhouse gases has resulted in gradual increase in the average temperature and accompanying changes in the global climate. The concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere rises from about 280 ppm parts per million during the industrial age to about 420 ppm in 2021, reaching its highest level in 14 million years. The geological history of the Earth also knows period with significantly higher concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere. According to Muller, the highest known concentration levels of 3,000 ppm to 9,000 ppm were reached 450 million years ago during the Ordovician period, resulting in average temperatures about 10 degrees above today's. According to the reasons why this concentration did not lead to a total ecological catastrophe are rooted in the fact that the sun was colder than and the Earth's orbital cycle were different. Human activities are responsible for an increase in temperature of about 1 degree Celsius compared to the pre-industrial era, with the current rate of temperature increase by about 0.2 degrees Celsius per decade, leading to unprecedented anthropogenic climate change. In the future, rising temperature will affect the climate in the following directions: prolonged drought and heat waves, permanent change in the rainfall pattern, increase in the strength and the intensity of hurricanes, increase in the level of the world ocean between 0.3 and 2.5 meters by 2100, permanently reducing the volume of the ice mass in the Arctic, maintaining climate change trends this century beyond. Climate and climate change have always had a strong impact on human activity. Historical climatology is a branch of science that studies changes in climate and their impact on the human civilization. The roots of historical climatology can be traced to works of Aristotle, Titus, Lucretius, and Pliny the Elder. More recently, the availability of accurate paleoclimate data has given impetus to various studies that investigate the correlation between certain climate and social events. Using high-resolution paleoclimate data, McIntosh concludes that there is a strong correlation between climate and the frequency of warfare on the one hand, and human population changes in pre-industrial history on the other. A reason for this interrelationship can be sought in the negative effect that climate changes in the recent past, mainly cold weather, have had on agriculture and the ability of feed the population. In climate change, the possibilities for adaptation are related to migration, culture, and technological changes, innovation, trade, peaceful redistribution of resources, or war. In pre-industrial society, due to the lack of appropriation institution, as well as the lack of readiness for rapid social change, peaceful adaptation options often failed to work, and thereover war was the result of climate change. The war, in turn, contributed to a decrease in the human population, which increased their the per capita production of agricultural produce, resulting in a decrease in the price of this produce, which again led to an increase in the human population. The importance of the historical approach in the analysis of humans' adaptation to climate change is so emphasized by Letrude, Somerville, Kabush, Ding, Morrison, Moxit, Peterson, and Prader. Many authors in the field of political economy examine the policies and the legislation of various countries that address climate change. A study conducted in 2015 identified around 500 climate change related legislation in leading economies. The authors establish to what extent various factors such as political orientation, degree of democracy of the society, existing legislation influence the adoption of new legislation related to climate change. Furthermore, they analyze why some countries have effective policies against climate change and others do not. For this purpose, they are developing as a special index named CLIME, Climate Laws, Institutions and Measuring Index, which is an attempt to measure the political response of an individual country against the risk of climate change. The index includes variables grouped into 4 key policy areas: international cooperation, national climate framework covering legislation, targets, and institutional commitment, sectoral fiscal and regulatory measures and objectives, cross-sectoral fiscal or regulatory measures such as the presence of a carbon tax or carbon trading schemes. The topic of the impact of climate change on the global economy has become increasingly popular in recent years. Many researchers and organizations are making attempts to predict the effects of the influence by developing different climate scenarios and using specific methods. One of the commonly used is the consensus method, where a number of experts are interviewed and give their prediction about the effect, and then the mean and median of their prediction are solved. Another method is enumeration. It first identifies the expected material effects of climate change, such as changes in rainfall and land productivity, global sea level rise, and then values each of these material effects. A third group of methods are statistical. They directly assess welfare impacts using observed variation in prices and cost to distinguish the effect of climate. One of the first attempts to predict the effect of climate change on the world economy was by the Nobel laureate in economics, William Nordhaus. In his article, Expert Opinion on Climate Change, he interviews climate change scientists, economists, and scientists in the field of social and natural science, and notes the great difference in their opinions. Based on their assessments, it considers different scenarios for the development of the climate. For the scenario in which the temperature of the planet rises by 3 degrees by 2019, the median expectation of decline in global GDP is 1.9%, and the mean value of this expectation is 3.6%. In scientific circles, Nordhaus is also known for the application of the so-called DICE model, Dynamic Integrated Model of Climate and the Economy. It is the first dynamic model covering carbon emissions and their concentrations, projected climate change and emission damage and control. It is a constrained, nonlinear, dynamic optimization model with an infinite horizon, and enables the development of different climate change scenarios. For example, for the scenarios where the Earth's temperature rises by 3 degrees, the expected drop in global GDP is 1.3%. A study conducted in 2005-2006 compared the cost of reducing greenhouse gas emissions with the cost that will be caused by these emissions at a regional and global level. The data show that in scenario with temperature increase by 2.5 degrees, global GDP will decrease by 1.4%. To assess the damage,
could you give your final remarks, because we spent our time?
I do not understand.
Could you give your final remarks? Because we spent our time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you can give final remarks.
Climate change is one of the most serious threats to the medium and long-term development of the world economy. From research examining their regulation economic impact, the conclusions and accompanying moral paradox emergence that developing countries which contribute less to climate change should suffer more severe economic consequences than developed countries. At the same time, for the evidence, industrial countries whose development has largely caused these changes, the economic consequences will be less negative or even in some cases positive. Climate change is undoubtedly a global problem that does not leave regions, countries, and sectors unaffected. That is why it requires a global response. However, the accumulated experience in this area shows the different difficulty of finding a solution at the international level, since the maintained paradox divides developed and developing countries on the case questions: who should bear the economic burden of the changes, and to what extent?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Professor Dr. Tsvetan Iliyev, for your nice informations. Do you have any question to ask or add something to the Professor Dr. Tsvetan Iliyev? Do you have any question? We cannot hear you, Babu Ali. Okay. There is a question, but we cannot hear Babu Ali. Is there any question? No? Okay, thanks for your speech, Professor Dr. Tsvetan Iliev, who was the international business school in Bulgaria. Now, turn is Velizar Petrov. Velizar Petrov, okay, here.
Yes.
Velizar Petrov, engineer manager. He will give the speech. Title is Tools to Help Energy Efficiency in Public Buildings. Turn is yours, Velizar Petrov. You can start.
Yeah, yes, thank you. But I have a presentation, but I have no permission to share my screen.
Okay,
If
just
it's
a moment,
possible, yeah.
just a moment.
Murat hocam oldu sanırım.
Okay, turn is yours. You
Okay, can
can
you see
see
it?
your presentation right now.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. First I'd like to thank organizer for this possibility to present my a report about energy efficiency in public buildings. The topic is tools to help energy efficiency in public building. That is the abstract of my report, but I wouldn't stress here more detail because the most information will be presented on the next slides. So the context of the report, I think that most of you are quite familiar with European regulations, directives, and strategies according climate change, keeping our environment, energy efficiency, etc., especially Green Deal. And I wouldn't give more information about this because that is the not core of my report. But nevertheless, in the Energy Union, 5 dimensions are closely intertwined to contribute to achieving great energy security, sustainability, and competitiveness. First is energy security, solidarity, and trust. The second is an integrated European energy market. Third is energy efficiency, which is the topic of the report. Fourth is decarbonization of the economy. And the fifth is research, innovation, and competitiveness. Normally, when we have some regulations, strategy, and directives on the European level, they to have some connection with national law, with the national level. That's why the European goals have been developed, which also reflected at the national level. As I told you, the stress on this report will be on the energy efficiency. Energy efficiency is the goal of every investor, owner, or user buildings, and the trend of increasing energy prices worldwide. Often these understandable drift goes hand in hand with quite unrealistic expectations. Before we take the first important step towards energy efficiency, we need to know a few things. We should ask some questions. For example, where are we on the energy efficiency scale? Can we improve it, and by what means? How much will it cost, and how long will the investment pay for itself? The other question is, what does energy efficiency depends on? Let's not forget that the energy efficiency of buildings is a relative concept. The expansion itself shows a ratio between consumed energy, the costs incurred for it, and the benefits received in return. The latter individual to each business and building, and are the most difficult thing to measure. But the ratio between the first two other things being equal can give some idea of where our existing or planned building is on the scale of energy efficiency. When we talk about the technology, in terms of technology, here are the categories that contribute most significantly to energy consumption and relate to the energy efficiency of the building. It is evident that the largest and most expensive of these also have the greatest potential for cost saving. However, they are also the ones that are the most static and accordingly the most difficult subject to significant renovation and modernization in the direction of energy efficiency. Therefore, with the building already designed or built, the only system that can be integrated and change the energy picture remains the building automation system. If the existing building technical installation allow connection to a building automation system, this can seriously change the game in a positive direction in terms of efficiency. The base of my report, in fact, is one project then our Regional Development Agency with Business Support Center for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises are partner in this project. The project is named Pro Energy. That is energy efficiency in public building in the Balkan Mediterranean territory, and is funded by Balkan Mediterranean Interreg program. The project starts September 2019 and will end this year after a few prolongations thanks to COVID-19 and other force majeure issues. The lead partner is from a region of Epirus, that is in Greece. The other partners are Development Agency of Avia, Greece, Cyprus Energy Agency, Department of Electrical and Mechanical Services from Cyprus, our agency, and we have a partner from Albania. First partner from there was from the municipality, but then they changed partner, and now is as a partner is National Agency of Natural Resource in Albania. So the common challenge of Pro Energy project is to improve energy efficiency of public buildings, different types, for example, municipal, regional buildings, schools, universities, etc. This is a common problem faced by the territorial participating in the project, characterized by old facilities, outdated or degraded building facades, materials and equipment, lack of skilled civil servants, etc., all leading to high energy consumption and high carbon emissions. The target group are and was local, national, regional public authorities, sectoral agencies and regulators, Infrastructure and service providers, different type of interest groups and NGOs, higher education and research institutions, training centers, and etc. They will include in the formulation of the joint strategy and action plan through public consultation and other formal and informal meetings and events. So the main activities according to the project are existing situation analysis about energy efficiency, it's already done. Good practices selection and benchmarking also already done. Joint strategy and action plan for increasing energy efficiency through behavior change already done. A joint criteria for selecting pilot building already done. Energy audit and pilot building is already done. By the way, in Bulgaria, the pilot building is the building of the WART, that's our university for agriculture and rural development in Plovdiv. Here we design and implement of activities of capacity building for energy managers. Also, we install of smart sensors in this pilot building. And the other activities, design and development of a pilot, joint pilot platform for monitoring and improving energy efficiency, and designing and implementing a joint benefit analysis mode. So when we talk about the piloting, there are three pilot actions. One is design development of an open source joint ICT platform. This ICT platform is in under progress. The second is the design and development of the joint cost-benefit analysis modular. In fact, that is the core topic of this report, and I will present it in the next slide. And the third one is the joint preparation of energy performance contracts. They are also under will be done very soon. So joint cost benefit analysis modular aims at supporting decision making for retrofits, renovation, etc., which lead to increased energy efficiency in a public building. In our case, the building of WART. The tool can be used in two main cases: assessment of the performance of an already existing and operating buildings, as our case, and virtual assessment of an energy efficiency of a future building that is currently being designed, built, or renovated. By the way, now WART built a new building, so in the future we can use the same IT tool for the new building as well. In both cases, the generated data can serve not only as a reference and assessment of the current state of the building, but also as a basis for making decisions about future improvements. Calculations are made on the basis of entered output data for available building systems such as heating, cooling, ventilation, lighting, and etc. The assessment begins with the introduction of basic data about the user and the building, as well as choice of currency in which the potential future investments and their benefits will be measured. The next steps require entering detailed data about the available systems in the building and the level of automation in them. After entering all the information, the tool can generate a report. The tool has a specialized financial module that allows choosing between different energy sources and entering price information. In this way, if the value of the plant energy efficiency investment and the annual consumption of the building entered, we will get the time for its repayment and the saved costs, for example, in 10 years. Of course, here the period could be different. This assessment can answer the question, should we invest in building automation system, or what we will lose if we don't? Of course, this estimate is approximate, especially in financial terms, but it can give a good indicative idea of the potential for increasing energy efficiency. The modular is composed of the following key sheets. The sheets, cover sheets, operating guide, dashboard, inputs sheet, and CBA analytics. The cover sheet, that is title page, including disclaimer. It also includes 4 buttons for another 4 sheets for navigation to the additional model sheets. The next operating guide present the present sheet provides a manual of using the CBA tool. In dashboard sheet, that's simplified and short presentation of the key inputs. Insert the CBA key result and the project financial structure. Furthermore, the dashboard sheet presents the main operating and investment flows during both construction and operational periods, concluding to the free cash flow per period examined. Normally in input sheets has mainly to do with data entry. The user has to insert its estimations in this sheet. And the last, maybe the most important, it is a financial output sheet, thus presenting both the occurring financial key indicator of the analysis conducted. What kind of that data we use in input sheet? There are some financial data, annual energy cost saving, total capital expenditure, subsidy or grant amount if we have, debt, loan inputs, financial and fiscal inputs, and environmental inputs. On this site, you can see exactly how it looks like this sheet. In the last sheet about CBA analysis, the section provides a financial output sheet. thus presenting both the occurring financial key indicators of the analysis conducted, as well as investor profit and loss statement, investors cash flow statement, payback analysis, and debt service cover ratio analysis. The very analysis take place under the discount cash flow investment valuation framework. On this page, you can see how exact looks inputs about pilot building of WART. And on this page, you can see how look like the page about CBA analytics, about piloting building of WART. As conclusions, what I can say, we make such a survey using also another tools. During the survey and analysis of the energy agency of the pilot building in Bulgaria, two models were used, economic and technical. The modular developed within the project is one and combine, in fact, both economic and technical indicators in one. That is some new for this project. And after the comparison, we found that the results are similar, which is good for testing this modular. We have a recommendation to make the interface of the modular more attractive for end users, because you know that is only on the test phase, as well as the enable graphical representations of the analysis and the possibility of automatic generation of report forms. So thank you. That was from my side. If you have some comments, remarks, I'm open to answer if I can.
Okay, thanks for your information you shared with us. I have a question. You showed a number for the energy cost. It is 326 euro. Is it for a building or for one family?
Those tables that I show connected to the pilot building. The pilot building in the project was the building of WART, University of Agriculture and Rural Development here in Plovdiv. So that is practical results. In fact,
Not real value.
That is real results of the building of the WART.
Can I ask, what about the area of the public building?
Can you repeat?
What about the area we are talking about, the public building?
The area?
Yeah, because this cost is a little bit high for me, 326 euro. After the
For example, this modular can you can think about it as let's say a black box. We put in some data from the beginning as input, and then we can have some outputs. So using this tool, you can make different varieties of scenarios. So that is one of scenarios. That is not just, for example, how exact works modular.
Okay, thanks. Is there
Welcome.
any question
Which,
for the Venezuelan Petro? Is there any question? Yes, Babali.
Yeah, thank you very much for such a good presentation. At the beginning, I couldn't listen you because I was facing some problem of voices. At the end, I understand that you are suggesting, I think, two different scenario. Am I right?
There is possible many scenarios. In our case, we because that is a project and that is one of the products of the project. We had to establish such a IT tool as, let's say, a black box to use by decision makers and other stakeholders. They would like to see, or investors, for example, when they would like to invest in some building about energy efficiency, they would like how cost it. So this tool is very appropriate to know in advance when they invest, for example, €1 million, how energy efficiency they will reach in the end as objective.
Which kind of energy efficiency, like wind energy, water energy, electric energy? Which kind of energy you can suggest these two scenarios?
In our case, we put different sensors in ward building, and we survey electricity using. And based on this also IT platform that is under preparing, WART and other partners can see daily how energy is used and can make any kind of decisions about reduction or anything else.
Thank you for your reply.
Welcome. You are muted, by the way, Murat.
Yeah. Hocam.
You're still muted,
Yeah.
Murat.
Hocam sesiniz gelmiyor hocam. Kapatmışsınız.
Sorry about that. Thanks again for the information you shared us, Alexander. Venezuelan Petro. Now, the turn is the Associate Professor Alexander Dacia. The session name is the Technology and Climate Change. Alexander Dacia is here.
Hello
Okay.
from me. I'm here.
Okay, welcome to our contest. Turn is yours. You can start.
Thank you very much, dear ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you one more time on the conference. Now, according to our program, there is one more section with some presentators that we have invited: technology and climate change. This is the name of the last section, and we have 4 presentators. According to our program, the first one is Aysen Güzel. I'm sorry if I do not pronounce very well the name. And the topic of the theme is flood hits greenhouses in Mediterranean plants, response to extreme natural events. Aysen, are you here? Aysen? Okay.
Your voice is clear. Keep it continue. Your voice is clear. We are listening.
I'm sorry. Can you please repeat?
We are listening. You are continue. You can continue.
I am here, Ayla, for second presentation.
Okay, okay. We can start with you. If you want, if you're ready, we can start with you. Okay?
Okay.
Ayla?
Okay, I will.
We can start with you because Aysen is not online and we wait for her. So now, if you want, we can start with you.
Okay.
Okay, please proceed.
But I can't share my presentation. I think you give me permission for presentation. Could you see my presentation?
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank you. My name is Ayla Ömer Alçay. I am member of Istanbul Aydın University, Anadolu Vocational School. I am head of food technology program. My working area is food safety and food microbiology. My presentation about climate change, foodborne infections, and food poisoning. The purpose of this presentation is to evaluate the possible effects of climate change on foodborne infections and food poisoning to raise awareness on this issue. Climate change is impacting human lives and health in a variety of ways. It threatens the essential ingredients of good health, for example, clean air, safe drinking water, nutritious food supply, and safe shelter. There is a lot of links among human health, animal health, and environmental health. Climate change related health impacts, temperature related health problem, increased allergens, respiratory symptoms, mental illnesses, spread of vector-borne disease, contaminated water source, more frequent extreme weather events, and increased foodborne illness. Who will be affected this health problem? Certain groups are at the greater risk. For example, social vulnerable people, low-income populations, homeless people, outdoor workers, immigrants, indigenous populations, physically vulnerable people, for example, elderly or pregnant mothers, children, mentally ill people, people with chronic disease, and disabled people. Environmental outcomes of climate change, erratic rainfall, increased drought, rising seas, increased flooding, increased salinization, temperature, carbon dioxide, storm intensity, and increased desertification. Impacts on agriculture, climate change impacts, increased disease severity, lower yields, and lower nutritive quality. Rising temperature can affect food across the world by increasing the incidence of infections by food and waterborne pathogens, promoting higher uptake to toxic heavy metals in crops, expanding harmful algal blooms on affecting seafood safety, making plants more susceptible to fungal infections and mycotoxins, driving plant pests into new territories, potentially leading to overuse of pesticides. Foodborne infections are important nowadays. Every year, 33 million healthy people lost, and foodborne disease can be deadly, especially in children under 5 years old. Climate change changes in pathogens growth and survival relents. Water scarcity during droughts can adversely affect hygiene and sanitation. Food scarcity can cause dietary shifts towards more unsafe food. Contamination of crops by pitches to high levels of rainfall or flooding. Many food illnesses show seasonal trends, as figures show. Climate influences the epidemiological threat of host agent and environment in many ways. Infectious disease transmission is influenced by local temperatures, extreme weather events, increasing interactions between people due to climate and water-driven displacement, migration and rising population densities around limited natural resources. Climate affects the reproduction, survival, and transmission routes of pathogen, habitat, and susceptibility, host defense, novel pathogens, antimicrobial resistance, interactions, chemical, biological effects. You can see here some climate-sensitive microorganisms. Salmonella, Campylobacter, Listeria monostogenes, Vibrio, Escherichia coli, Shigella, Bacillus cereus, Anthrax, Clostridium, Yersinia, Leptospira, Norovirus, Hepatitis I virus, Rotavirus, Rift Valley fever virus, Nipah virus, Hepatitis virus, Encephalitis tick-borne virus, Cysticercosis bovis, liver fluke, Toxoplasma gondii, Cryptosporidium, and Giardia. Food poisoning. It has been determined that the incidence of food poisoning is significantly related to air temperature. It is estimated that there may be many more cases of food poisoning each year by 2050 as a result of climate change. Marine mucilage is important. We were seen in Marmara Sea around Istanbul. Mucilage is vehicle for the spread of prokaryote and viruses. Water experiencing mucilage outbreak are at risk for contamination by bacteria linked to food poisoning, such as Escherichia coli and other coliforms. With increasing temperatures and extreme weather events, improvements in the processing, storage, and hygiene conditions on food will be needed. More than 1 million people have inadequate access to clean drinking water globally, and approximately 2 billion people lack basic sanitation facilities. Prolonged droughts can alter the availability and usage of water. This can affect business use such as food processing plants where water use is cleaning and sanitation. Extreme weather events will have an important impact on water quantity, drinking water quality, and availability of clean and safe water. Heavy rains and floods can contaminate human and animal excrement, odor wastes, and sewage waters. Possibly the most important consequence is the potential for emergence of novel pathogenic bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Due to climate change, food will be produced in altered climatic conditions in modified surrounding ecosystem. Globally, climate change is expected to threaten food production, food quality, food price, and food distribution systems. Many crop yields, livestock, and fish production are predicted to decline. Prices are expected to rise in response to declining food production. Food insecurity increases with rising food prices. Changing climate conditions cause hunger by increasing disease, and that hunger makes people more susceptible to disease. This is most important concern. It can be a vicious cycle in the future. What can be done? We cannot avoid climate change, and nor can we eradicate all diseases. Education is important, especially as for developed countries. Hygiene education, water treatment, food preparation, disease transportation. Vaccination is essential for some foodborne disease, and the only answer to multi-drug resistant strains. Good policy is important for government. Government will be play important role for food safety management. We need more research about disease epidemiology, waterborne disease, climate change. Raising awareness in the issue of targeted communication, engaging all stakeholders, fostering greater surveillance and data sharing, strengthening food safety management, investing in early warning system, adapting forward-thinking attitudes, advancing current knowledge through further research. As conclusion, climate change can cause changes in microbiome, soil and atmospheric ecology, vector and host geographic range, human displacement and sanitation, antimicrobial resistance patterns. Changes in temperature can affect the distribution and survivability of pathogens that cause foodborne illness. Hot temperature can easily contaminate food and make it toxic enough. Climate change may likely result in a rise in foodborne infection and intoxication. Ensuring food safety under a changing climate requires key adaptation strategies. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And now it is time for questions. If anyone have questions, please, it's your turn. Questions? Okay. I see that there is no questions. Now in the chat there is something happening. Some explanation about the ISON presentation, but I cannot understand very well what is going on here, because my Turkish is not very well. If someone can explain me, I'll be very grateful.
These are not about the presentation of ISON. These are the communication between the participants.
Okay, I see. So, okay. I am terribly sorry, but this is so.
Sorry, may I interrupt you? Ayşin Güzel there yesterday has presented her paper. I to the presentation actually.
I see. Okay. I didn't know. So next one with the report of how can the agricultural soil can support in the climate change mitigation and adaptation. Professor Hüsnü, but the last name I cannot pronounce it. I'm terribly sorry. Welcome, Mr. Professor. Go ahead.
Thank you, dear Dechev. This presentation will present with my PhD students, Nisa Kandemir. She is in here, and please, Nisa, shall you start?
I will present in Turkish. Merhabalar, ben sunumumu Türkçe gerçekleştireceğim. Sesim geliyor mu acaba? Sesim geliyor mu?
Evet, duyuyoruz.
Tamam. Tamam Hocam. Adım Nisa Kandemir. Ege Üniversitesi'nde toprak mikrobiolojisi ve biyokimya bilim dalında doktora yapmaktayım. Şöyle bir hemen ekran paylaşımında bulunayım.
Ekran paylaşımına bir izin verebilir miyiz? Tamamdır hocam.
Tam ekran yapar mısınız hocam?
Tam ekran şu an. Profesör Doktor Hüseyin Hüsnü Kayıkçıoğlu hocamla birlikte tarım toprakları iklim değişikliğinin azaltılmasında ve uyumunda nasıl desteklenebilir adlı bir araştırma gerçekleştirdik. Bununla ilgili sunum yapacağım size. 300 bin yılda dünya üstünde olan insanlarla ihtiyaçlarını karşılamak için gerçekleştirdiği faaliyetlerin sonuçları dünyadaki hayatın geleceği açısından artık göz ardı edilemeyecek noktaya gelmiştir. Jeolojik zamanda iklim değişiklikleri, buzul hareketleri ve deniz seviyesindeki değişimlerle yalnızca dünya coğrafyasının değişiminin ekolojik sistemlerde de kalıcı etkiler bırakmıştır. Burada iklim değişikliği dünya üzerinde yıl boyunca Karadeniz ve havada ölçülen ortalama sıcaklık artması nedeniyle dünyanın iklimi değişmiştir ve sera gazlarının etkisi burada bir rol oynamıştır. Buradaki olumsuz etkilerimiz kuraklık, çölleşme, yağışlardaki dengesizlik ve sapmalar, su baskınları, tayfun, fırtına, hortum ve benzeri meteorolojik olaylar gerçekleşir. Bu görselimizde güneşten gelen radyasyon gözleniyor. Burada %100 şeklinde gelen radyasyon yeryüzünde %1 şeklinde direkt ulaşır. Bu enerji yere yakın atmosferi ısıtır, buharlaşmayı sağlar ve bitkilerin fotosentez olayını gerçekleştirir. Geriye kalan %49'un %4'ü yeryüzünden yansır ve %26'sı bulutlar ve atmosfer tarafından yansır. Bu da %19'u atmosferik gazlar, partiküller ve bulutlar tarafından emilimiyle gerçekleşir. Ben göremedim de pardon. Sera etkisi atmosferin ısınması sonucu insan etkisiyle hızlandırılmıştır maalesef. Karbondioksit, metan, nitrozoksit ve klorlu gazlar ve de su buharının yeryüzünden gelen radyasyonun ısınması sonucu gerçekleşmektedir. Özellikle bu süreçte karbondioksit gazı çok hızlı etkiye hızlandırma etkisine sahiptir. Buradaki tablomuzda doğa ve suni kaynakları, sera gazları üzerindeki doğa ve suni kaynaklar görülmektedir. Zamanımı verimli kullanabilmek için bu slaytıma hızlıca geçmek istiyorum. Bu görselde iklim değişikliğinin etmenleri gösterilmek isteniyor. Burada her şey birbirleriyle aslında bağlantılı. Şu şekilde ormansızlaşmadan kaynaklanan çölleşme, büyükbaş hayvanların yetiştiriciliğinin artmasıyla metan gazının